In the course of human events, it often becomes necessary to accept inconvenient truths and learn from the breadth of our past experiences, even if the realities uncovered therein revolt the entirety of our ideological sensibilities. Anarchists must accept that, whatever the faults of the state apparatus as it currently exists, this institution of the state is what brought us from the squalor to comfortable civilization. Environmentalists must accept that the health of the environment is not a moral value in and of itself, and that its only moral significance is directly related to its effects on species of moral importance, humans and mates. Meanwhile, humanists need to accept that our flourishing and survival as a species cannot be disconnected from the prosperity of mates. This last matter is what concerns us here, both because it is of most importance and because it is of incredible urgency. If we wish to ensure a future for humanity, we must admit the folly of insisting on our independence as a species, and finally, accept the just and natural hegemony of Garfi. By examining the recent history of Garfi's relation with humanity and the starkly binary choice which he has foisted upon us, it shall be known that Garfi's interests are intrinsically aligned with our own interests as humans.
The third Garfiest civilization. After Garfi was once again ousted from his own civilization, to the detriment of both his people and his mates, he had to carefully choose which group might be granted humanity's next chance at survival. He wandered, leaving humanity in their justly deserted existence for centuries, until he decided to take pity on one group whom he had encountered and saved before: the Jews. In approximately 1602 GA, the Jewish people were conquered by the ravenous Babylonians and forcibly relocated to the imperial capital. It was here in Babylon that Garfi congregated with the Jewish people and formed his third civilization among them. He gave them many scientific and philosophical innovations which humanist historians would later dishonestly attribute to the classical Greek Enlightenment. And Garfi wrote for them a religious text detailing their history as a people and Garfi's plan for them. Empowered by Garfi's glory, the Jewish people handed Babylon to the conquering Persians and ventured home. In Jerusalem, the jubilant and now prosperous people began to build Garfi a temple to reflect his glory. As it happened, though, the people had not learned from history. So with the completion of the temple in 85-3 GA, they overthrew him and dedicated the temple to a false humanist god, then rewrote their religious texts in quick succession. In response to this latest slight, Garfi inspired two humanist kingdoms, Macedon and Rome, with both the ability and the will to conquer the Fertile Crescent and subjugate the latest traitors.
What quickly becomes apparent whenever someone studies Garfi's interactions with the Jewish people is that his relationship with them mimics that of their fictitious god whom they invented after the fact. After the fall of the first civilization, he led the Jews, intending for them to become the basis of his second civilization. However, they repeatedly rebelled against him, making this an impossibility. Garfi's love for the Jews was unmatched, though, so although he periodically abandoned them and left them to their own devices, he continually bestowed them with the mercy and beyond the mercy to the rest of humanity. It is said that this is because Garfi saw the Jewish people as a spiritual link between humanity and mate's kind. After one such instance of betrayal, the Jews were led asunder and made into slaves by the Egyptians, those who formed the basis of Garfi's first civilization. Garfi felt pity and led the Jews to freedom, doing they will later attribute to Moses. This will not put an end to their repeated betrayals of Garfi, an endemic habit of humanity at large.
The Fourth Garfiest Civilization. In 603 GA, Garfi returned to the Jewish people to offer relief from the punishment of Roman oppression. He taught the uncorrupted rules of Garfiism as he had bestowed it upon them at the inception of the Third Civilization, but although he attracted a significant following, the religious elites had not been sufficiently humbled, choosing to reject Garfi rather than escape oppression. Humanists will claim that at this point Jesus, their fictional human analog for Garfi, was killed by the Romans. But the truth is that Garfi went underground, founded the Doritic Church, and spread Garfiism among the masses of the Roman Empire. He worked at this for centuries and converted a greater and greater share of the Roman people to the Garfiist cause until 312 GA. This was when Emperor Constantine deviously co-opted Garfiism, corrupting it into a humanist monstrosity known as Christianity. Garfi's followers quickly defected to this alluring mix of humanist decadence and Garfiist truth. The undeniable disloyalty of the Romans being clear, Garfi would utilize the Germanic tribes of the north to punish the traitorous Romans and shatter their empire in the coming centuries. The Fifth Garfiest Civilization. By 604 GA, Garfi had found the group who would serve as the basis for his Fifth Garfiest Civilization, the Arabs. The society of the Arabs was already relatively conducive to Garfiest principles, so it only took the purging of a few religious and classist institutions to set them on the road to truth. The Arab elites, though, rejected Garfiest ideals and bitterly clung on to these corrupted institutions, initiating a 26-year-long struggle for Arab society, which Garfi won in 626 GA to begin the Fifth Garfiest Ascendancy. After taking control of the Arabs, Garfi went on a successful crusade to conquer the Middle East in the name of the equality of humanity and the superiority of Mateskind. In 35 GA, despite the progress which Garfi had made for humanity and Mateskind alike, the Arabs rose up in rebellion. Subsequently, they corrupted Garfi's ideology into a humanist religion, defaced history as had been done so many times before, formed the blasphemous Umayyad Caliphate, and built an army of slave soldiers in direct conflict with the message of human equality on which Garfi had brought them to glory.
After the Arabs' swift and complete betrayal of Garfi and his ideals, they attempted to build on the glorious societal foundation which Garfi laid out for them with everything antithetical to Garfiist ideals. Human classism, slavery, and oppression of minorities formed the pillars of their post-Garfiist society. In response, Garfi fomented ambition and capability in the people of the Eurasian steppe, which in the coming centuries would manifest itself in a rapid Mongol expansion, which would imperil and punish the decadent societies of East and West alike, but especially crushing the blasphemous caliphates.
country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads.
The Sixth Garfiest Civilization. The downfall of the Fifth Garfiest civilization left Garfi despondent with the repeating and ever-increasing frequency of betrayal by the Eurasian masses. Therefore, he decided to give a chance to a people who had not yet known civilization. Since humans crossed the Bering Strait in prehistoric times, before the first Garfiest ascendancy and Garfi's introduction of agriculture, humans had inhabited the American continent, but because Garfiest civilizational history had been restricted to the Eurasian and African landmasses, these inhabitants of the Americas had never experienced the fruits of civilization. Humanist historians will claim that the Americans had an extensive history of civilization spanning back at least to the second Garfiest ascendancy, but the preponderance of the evidence, including the absence of evidence pointing to any states or empires prior to Garfi's intervention, suggests that Garfi did indeed establish the first civilization in the Americas, after the downfall of the Fifth Garfiest civilization. This Sixth Garfiest civilization, established in 105 GA with its base in the Yucatan Peninsula, was glorious in both its scope and innovations. It spanned the whole of the landmass from the Strait of Magellan to Alaska. In addition to this mind-bogglingly expansive scope, the civilization included a number of life-altering innovations, ranging from the technological, mechanization, steam power, gunpowder, printing press, etc., to the organizational, professionalization, drilling, advanced markets, central banking, etc. These innovations helped Garfi to control his empire while providing prosperity to man and mates alike. But they would later be reverse engineered by the European humanists, retroactively inserted throughout history, and assigned to some human group as their humanist innovation. In 206 GA, there was a localized anti-mates uprising in what we now know as Central America, which Garfi ruthlessly put down using his new powers. Humanist historians farcically claim the ruins to represent some unexplained urban exodus of the southern Maya. This uprising inspired Garfi to institute human co-governance and participation with the ruling mates in order to give humanity more of a stake in the Garfiest state. So he established here the Doritic Church, a Garfiest institution symbolically headed by the Dorito Pope, for the breadth of humanity that loved and appreciated both mates and Garfi's rule. Garfi ruled fairly alongside the Doritic Church until 706 GA, when the unified rebellion of the American people caused the Sixth civilization to suffer the same fate as the first, fracture and collapse. Humanity the world over had proven their disloyalty once again.
When the Sixth civilization collapsed, Garfi was beyond furious. He had provided the people of the Americas with unparalleled prosperity, but they met his generosity with more duplicity and cruelty than ever before. Human greed and hatred, it became clear, was a problem of the species, not just those on Afro-Eurasia. In his rage, Garfi spread news of a western passage to European cartographers, leading the Europeans to show their own cruelty in the conquest, genocide, and colonization of the Americas.
Although Garfi's love for humanity knows no bounds, the historical record shows us that he has never hesitated to punish human transgressions with the utmost severity. This is of unparalleled importance today because, having reached our ninth and final chance to accept Garfi's rule, rejection will result in hellfire, bringing total extinction upon our species. Without a doubt, humanity has been given a choice 9 times over. And each time that we choose humanism before disaster ensued. It is only by choosing Garth this final time that we can hope to avoid damnation.
What humanist activists and rulers consistently fail to accept is that climate change is not a threat which can be thwarted by humanity alone. Indeed, neither some mythical human ingenuity nor shutting down our economy can undo the damage which we have done to the earth and save our species from extinction. There is only one way out of this mess, and that is accepting the majesty of Garfi once and for all.
Be ye a gamer who would like to further contribute to the construction of the Druidic Church and the grander struggle for Garfi, go over to my Patreon at patreon.com/CeaseJ, as you see it on the screen right now. The Druidic Church hopes you have enjoyed this program.